Okay, so now I'm going to put the letter in here, the letter C in this case, right? So let's go to my T key for text, and it's just going to bring a regular, an actual little. If I come here with my little type key and just click anywhere in here, it's going to bring in this little thing, this random phrase. I'm just going to hold down Shift and hit C. Now I've already chosen the font, which is similar to what I want. Just find a font that feels like it makes sense, and I'm going to grab my little move tool and bring this down here. Make sure it's on top of that layer so you can see it. If you can't see it, it might be behind this layer. I'll hit Control T to scale this up, and I can just move it wherever I need it to go, like this. Again, this might not be the best font, but I'm okay. Okay, I ended up going with Franklin Gothic Heavy for this. I'll click on the little color, and again, just sample that green. So it's easy enough. And I want this, of course, to kind of feel like it's coming out. So I'm going to double click in my little empty spot here to my layer styles. I'm going to go to bevel and emboss. Now I'll come over here, turn it on. I'll come over here and make sure I choose up instead of down. I hit reset to default. That way we're all on the same page. And then again, the depth is how far it comes out, perhaps. The size is, the size of the bevel. So yeah, just use your best judgment in terms of how much you want this to be. You can see here, this is the shadow, this little dark area here. That's what this shadow mode is. So I can tone that down a little bit so it's not quite so intense. Okay, that's really all you need, right? So again, you can try different things here. You can try outer bevel and see what you get. That might look pretty cool. So again, just experimentation is fine here. I might increase the shadow a little bit more now, like that. No, I'm good. Okay, hit OK. So now what I need to do is basically combine the C and the front so I can move them at the same time. Okay, so I need to first do that thing we did before in class, which is called rasterizing, which kind of makes these little effects permanent. So I'll just right click on here and choose rasterize layer style. Now it's just plain old paint. I'll do the same thing here to the front because we have layer styles there too. So rasterize layer style. And now I want to combine these two together. So I have this one on top. I'll just right click and choose merge down. Okay, that way now the entire front is where it needs to be. I'm just going to move the top and the side out of the way just for a second. Let's grab that front and let's kind of adjust the overall position now. So I'm going to put the bottom corner right down here so they kind of match up. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is just an idea here. And for the most part, I might just need to skew this. Let's see if that works. So I'll hit Control T and then right click and choose skew. And then I'll crank this up like this. But you can see it doesn't really quite, it kind of gets a little bit messed up here. So let's try something else here. Control T, and I'm going to actually, instead of grabbing anything, I'm just going to hold down the Control key. If you hold down Control and grab these corners, you can literally just kind of grab them and move them wherever you need them to go. So I can kind of grab these different corners here and move it so that it's where it needs to be. Like that. Hit Enter. There you go. So you don't even need to use skew. You can just kind of hold down Control and grab those corners. I'm going to turn that background picture off just so you can see what we're working with here. And now all I got to do really is grab my top. Okay, now I'm going to bring back my picture so I can see what I'm working toward here. I'll hold down Control, and again I can hold. I'm sorry, Control T. Now I can just hold down Control and move these points where they need to be. Now I have to make sure I'm going to hit undo for a second, Control Z, because I need to first rotate this. So I need to have this going horizontally, so when I move this down, it'll kind of match up. Now one of the things I can also do before even grabbing the corners here, I can just, if I Control T going, I can just kind of hover around the corners here. You can see my little arrow turns like to a little curvy thing. I can literally just rotate it a little bit to kind of get it closer to where I want, and then hold down Control and grab the dots and kind of move them into position. So Control, click and drag, Control, click and drag. I'm just going to move it. It's going to look a little bit weird at first. I have to kind of make these guys behave a little bit, like so. And again, we're not going for perfection here. It's going for close enough, and that looks pretty good. Now the side doesn't need a whole lot, probably. Something like this. Control T, hold down Control, move that into position here. Control, click, move that into position here. enter. Now you can see it's not perfect, right? So I can hold down Control T and then just kind of adjust this a little bit so it's more in keeping with what I want. Now I'm going to hide the back picture so I can see. So again, it's pretty good. It's not 100% perfect. I can zoom in here. Control plus will zoom in, and I can hold down Control and just adjust these positions a little bit here so that they're better. Right, something like this. I can go to the top one, Control T, and hold down Control and adjust that. What I want to do now is bring the front, the one with the green on here, I'm going to bring this on top. That way it'll kind of cover up anything behind that if I need to. Okay. I can go to my side here and Control T and just adjust these a little bit so they match up a little bit better. You can just tweak with this a little bit. There you go. So now we go. Right, that's my C. And again, I want this to be straight, so I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of this. All right. So it's not a perfect cube, but it'll be fine. And if you look here at the picture, if I turn these guys off here, you can see it's darker on the side here, somewhat dark on the top, light in the front. So let's do that same thing. I'm going to go to my side. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Turn that down a little bit. Go to the top. Go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Turn that down a little bit. Okay. Now again, and I'm gonna, it's gonna bother me if it's not perfect. So I'm not gonna come in here and tweak this. It might not matter so much, depending on your thoughts, your approach to this. But all this is telling you, by the way, is that while I move this around, all these brightness things will be kind of hidden. So I'm just going to say, don't show me again. Now I can hold down Control and move this into place so it looks a little better. Okay. Now I'm going to hide that back picture for a second so I can see it better. Now, one of the things I want to be able to do, like for example with these other cubes, is I might need to kind of move them around a little bit. So I want to be able to move this entire cube around. And right now these are 3 separate layers. That's fine. What I'm going to do is put them into a group, like a little folder. So I'm going to grab this top one, I'm going to hold down Shift and click on the other 2 layers. So that selects all 3. Then I can come down here and click on my little folder. And I'm going to just double click on this little group and call this the C block. So now if I choose that whole folder, I can just go to my Move tool and just move this whole thing around. Okay. If I ever want to get inside and move individual ones, I can just open this up, hit that little arrow, and then I can grab the individual layers. Okay. So I have the C here. You're going to make the B and the A. Obviously, they are going to go. The C is going to go in front of the B, so that it can look behind it in the picture. So that when you make the B, that's going to go underneath here, so that the C can sit in front. But the A will be on top of everything, so that it's sitting on top, right? So it's the same exact process, just 2 more times with slightly different approaches to the angles that you're going to be doing. But because I have this duplicate here, right, I can just make my other blocks from this. And then once I'm done, just turn off the original and we can just have our version of it. Okay, this is not meant to look beautiful or perfect. This is just meant to get us using these tools in different contexts.